everyone out there. Welcome to our AFSP network, and anyone who has tuned in, who heard about this live stream from any one of us. We welcome you, and really anyone you would like to invite in as well. This time is really meant to open up a dialogue where we can be honest and authentic and vulnerable with each other, and really model that and how to do that within our families and within our communities. So thank you for joining this important AFSP Town Hall. This is the 6th in AFSP's Town Hall series on mental health and suicide prevention in minoritized communities. And today we're focusing on mental health and suicide loss and healing in families of color. And we're focusing a little more specifically on Gen Z and Millennial generation perspectives, and also how the family interplays with supporting young people. So the panelists and I really want to create a forum that is supportive and is shedding stigma to every extent possible. We will be talking about issues of race, issues of generation and generational culture, the impact of media and social media in our lives, the experience we're all having in the pandemic, and also with the events related to racial justice and how that is impacting us, how we're coping. And our panelists will be speaking from their life experiences, their mental health journeys, and their experience of suicide loss and healing. So I really want to thank all of them for being here and being brave and vulnerable in this way. I just want to add a couple comments before I introduce each of our panelists. We know from surveys, including the most recent CDC Household Pulse Survey of mental health, that of all the demographic age groups, young people, young teenagers and young adults are experiencing the most distress right now in terms of symptoms of depression and anxiety. Among race and ethnic groups, it is Black Americans and Hispanic Latinx Americans who are experiencing the highest rates of distress. So I just want to frame that there is a lot going on for all of us, but that's what the data shows. Being a biracial person myself, I'm of Asian American and white descent. I was raised in a first-generation family that helped me be very attuned to the issues of how we learn to hide our internal experiences when we don't feel that we are part of a larger community, how issues of mental health further can be stigmatized and kind of misunderstood, and how experiences of discrimination or a sense of alienation can impact us personally in our lives and impact our mental health. Also, becomes very easy to fall into the trap of the comparison game, where we're comparing ourselves with others. That's very human to do that, but it is very detrimental to our mental health. So I want to invite everyone who is joining us today to comment freely in the comment section, support one another as you all are raising issues and your own experiences in the chat, and also feel free to ask questions of the panel at large or any individual on the panel, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible towards the end of our dialogue. And so with that, let me introduce each of our fantastic panelists, and after I introduce you, please just take a moment to say hello to our community who've joined in today. I'm going to start with Christina Cornelius, who is the daughter of television producer Tony Cornelius, who is also here today, and granddaughter of Don Cornelius, the creator of the legendary television series Soul Train. And Christina is an elite athlete and student. She was at Harvard University, where she was captain of the varsity volleyball team there, and won many awards and set records. After graduating, she then signed with a top modeling agency, and you can see her this summer on the fashion competition show Making the Cut, season 2. So we look forward to watching that, Christina. Okay. Yeah, so please say hello.
Hi, my name is Christina Cornelius. I'm really happy to be here. I'm super excited and honored to be on this panel just because I feel like suicide awareness and especially talking about mental health within our generation is very important, especially with, the rise of social media. Um, and I'm super excited to be here. Unfortunately, I lost my grandpa in 2012 to suicide, which was very hard for our family. But I think we have a few coping mechanisms and things that we've done along the way, and I'm excited to share that and those tools with other families that are going through the same thing. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Next, I'm going to introduce Solomon Thomas. Solly plays in the NFL as a defensive lineman for the Raiders. He landed that Las Vegas team spot after 4 seasons with the 49ers, who drafted him as the 3rd overall pick in the 2017 NFL draft. And during his 2nd season with the Niners, Solomon and his family did experience the extremely tragic loss of Solomon's sister, Ella, Martha and Chris's daughter, Ella. And since that time, and as I introduce all of them, you'll hear the different things they've been doing. But Solomon has, in addition to his NFL career, been spending a lot of time and effort raising the volume on these issues of mental health and suicide prevention and the loss experience. He is now the co-founder and executive director for the Defensive Line, a new nonprofit organization that we're going to be hearing more about. And their vision is a world where no young person of color dies by suicide. And I've had the extreme pleasure of getting to know Solly in numerous ways, but including in some media things that we've done together for AFSP and for ESPN and different things. So, Solly, I'll turn it over to you to say hello.
Thank you, Christine, for introducing me. Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name's Solomon Thomas, and I was brought into the fight against the stigma against mental health and suicide. My big sister Ella died by suicide in 2018, and it took my family by storm. And it was really hard for us, and we felt the stigma right away. People would come over and they would say sorry for your loss, like we love you, but that was it. They didn't know how to talk about suicide or talk about mental health or anything going on. And so as our journey went on, we all kind of bottled our emotions, especially me. And, I had to finally get help, and, that saved my life. Going to therapy saved my life. And I learned a lot through my journey on mental health, especially like key phrases like it's okay to not be okay. In this world we live in, we're taught everything's supposed to be good. And that's not how life is. So, I'm just here to, make sure everyone knows that help is available, to start the conversation with mental health and how important it is. And, just to make sure people know, they're perfectly imperfect the way they are. And, they're beautiful and unique, and they're needed here. They're loved. And I'm just so excited to be a part of this amazing crew today, and so thankful. And thank you, Christina.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to Tony Cornelius next. Tony is a 25-year veteran in television production, which includes network television, first-run syndication, and cable. He worked closely with his father, Don Cornelius, creator of Soul Train, and has overseen the Soul Train franchise and done a number of other really important things related to the Soul Train franchise, as well as producing American Soul, a dramatic episodic series which premiered a couple of years ago on BET. And Tony is a national AFSP board member as well. So thank you for your leadership, Tony, and I'll turn it over to you to say hello.
Yeah, I want to say I'm very excited about this panel. I'm blessed to be here, blessed to have my family members here as well. Christine, you've been a amazing leader and force when it comes to speaking about these things and really trying to put together projects and town halls that are important. We're all here through pain and through joy at the same time. I'm just so happy that my family's here to really talk about some things that we've never talked about. I mean, the most important thing I think is that we're here to really reach out to others who have gone through the same thing, and we're kind of the people who who are just pushing through that pain, just to make others feel better, and just to understand that we can make it through. So I'm really happy to be here, and I really appreciate the panel that's here as well too. And I just have so much to say, but at the same time, I'm just very fortunate to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Tony. We're fortunate to know you and to have you on our board and here today on this panel. And I'm going to go to Raymond Cornelius next, who is a creative and gifted makeup artist with more than 10 years of experience in the field. Since '03, actually, he's worked as a makeup artist and cosmetologist in Chicago, Illinois, and actually also studied fashion design and illustration at the Art Institute of Chicago. And he is, of course, the brother of Tony and the uncle of Christina and son of Don Cornelius as well. So Raymond, please say hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ray Cornelius, and I'm very, very proud to be here and so honored to have been asked to join this fantastic group of people to discuss this subject. It touched our family a great deal in so many ways, because it's something that you just don't expect. So that's the tragedy behind the act of someone taking their life. You know, there's a hopelessness that it's undescribable. And I think that this panel and the organization is really geared to help the survivors, because, you know, we're left with a lot of pain that it causes. And I'm just grateful that it exists for people. And that's about it.
Thank you, Ray. We're so glad you're here, and you're so right, because when we come together, we actually can move through it. And you're right, it is indescribable. I'm going to go to Martha Thomas next and introduce her. And I am not doing justice to anyone on this panel, but just for the sake of time, Martha Thomas is the co-founder and managing partner for the Defensive Line, this new fantastic nonprofit organization that I mentioned. And it is really her experience as a teacher, an educator, a mother, a coach, and a counselor that has prepared her for this current role that she's now taking with the Defensive Line. She has been a teacher and an educator for more than 30 years. Her students rely on her not only for the overt aspects of education, but for emotional support as well. We know that suicide prevention happens in a 360 way, not just in the doctor's office, but in our homes, in the school environment, and beyond, and comfort can be found there, and sense of connection. Martha was a preacher's kid, and that means that she grew up having to hold her own. And so she was raised with a servant's heart and a strong faith. And that's something that comes through in my own interactions with Martha. She has been a powerful advocate and an educator and a force in her own right in the suicide loss and healing and suicide prevention world. So Martha, do you want to say hello?
Hey, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me and all of us. As Christine said, I'm a teacher. This year, we've been back in person at my school since August. So it's been a challenging year in a lot of ways, and a lot more people have been talking about their mental health struggles. And so I am grateful for the time that I've had before this to be comfortable speaking about it. We lost our daughter, and Ella, and I never expected to encounter that pain in my life. And we got involved with AFSP through the overnight walks the first time, after the first overnight after Ella died. And that was kind of a life changer for us, taught us a lot, which I'm sure we'll talk more about those things later. So thanks.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Chris Thomas. Chris is a visionary leader driving strategic and cultural change in large global organizations like Procter & Gamble and Frito-Lay. He and Martha have been married for over 30 years, and they raised two amazing individuals, Ella and Solomon. And of course, in January of 2018, he describes his world shattering with the death of his oldest child, Ella. She had been someone who experienced bipolar disorder as well as sexual trauma. And that experience of suicide loss of Ella has impacted every aspect of his life, personally and professionally. They have, as many here can relate to, and maybe some who are tuning in as well, have decided to turn their tragedy into a sense of purpose and to actually make a difference for others, like Raymond was saying as well, to reach out and make sure everyone knows that they're not alone, but also to bring honor to their loved one who died, and that their struggles could be viewed as human experiences that all of us can have, and we need to talk more about them. Chris is also on our national AFSP board of directors, and the entire Thomas family actually were the award recipients of our 2019 Lifesavers Gala award. So Chris, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for the introduction and inviting myself and my family to this distinguished panel. My name is Chris Thomas. I wish I could say I wanted to be here. I wish I wasn't here. It's a club that nobody wants to be a part of. With that said, it's important to try to make a difference and to help others not go through the pain that all of us here on this panel have gone through. And it's an important discussion to have, particularly amongst the Black community, where it has not been talked about freely, openly, and without shame and stigma. So I'm hoping to play a role in this discussion, and the first step of probably many that will have an impact on in helping making a difference, because this affects somebody in the U.S. every 11 minutes. Somebody dies by suicide. So it's important that we create the environment and the path to help others who go through this pain. So thank you for allowing us to try to make a difference, Christine.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves and just saying a little bit about, your thoughts about being here today. And I thought that we could dive into our bigger discussion by first focusing on the young adult generation, millennials and Gen Zs. And Solomon, I thought we would start with you. And if you could just tell us a little bit more about your journey, both, your own mental health experiences, and what has been happening in your world with your colleagues, with them being able to talk about their own mental health. Help us kind of break that down a little bit.
Definitely, I kind of mentioned my journey a little bit earlier. After my sister died by suicide, I experienced extreme depression, sadness. The grief process was really hard for me. And, I was in a place in my life where I thought, I had to be a man. And, I mean that by I had to be tough. I had to be strong in the wrong ways and just toughen it out and push through it. So I ignored my depression, ignored my sadness. I ignored my anger. And, eventually I was about to explode. And, I was very blessed. And, John Lynch, my general manager, saved my life one day when he came and asked me for help because, I never would have known what had happened if he didn't come to me and feel what I feel like gave me the permission to ask for help and go get help. So that in therapy saved my life, learning how to cope with my emotions, learning how to talk about my emotions, learning how to sort from my anger, understanding that I'm feeling my feelings for a reason, that, and learning about the science of the brain, that helped me move forward and carry my grief and also find out how to honor my sister and change this world in the world of mental health. And it was hard for me being an NFL player, because I really thought I had to be that macho man. And, I thought that, if I came out and talked about my mental health, people look at me as I'm weak. Oh, he's lying because he's not performing right now. So and so, and so on. And I really believed those things, and I almost let those things take me away from this world. And so I understand the stigma. I understand what it's like to, fight a war in your head every day. I understand what it's like to, it's harder to live than it is to not be here. And so I've been there. And so I want to take my journey and show to other people that you don't have to go that deep. You don't have to go that dark. There's help here. There's help available. There's so many resources now, whether it's meditation, eating healthy, drinking water, getting enough sleep, art therapy, music therapy, whatever it is. There's so much help now. And, you're not alone in your fight. Everyone in the world is going to experience mental health sometime in their life. It does not discriminate. It will affect us all. So we might as well be human and normalize being human and talk about the human experience like you always talk about, Christine, is that feeling this sadness, feeling this anger, feeling whatever it is, anxiety, that is part of being human. You're not crazy. It's normal. And that we need to understand that we need to talk about these things like that so we can have these conversations, so we can help people be vulnerable, help people be brave and strong, which is how we need to define that in masculinity. That to be tough is to be vulnerable and to be brave and to be, so that's what I'm just trying to do. And that's been my journey so far. And, so that's been my journey.
I love that. And I love the way you've made vulnerability into a powerful thing and a strong thing, showing how being proactive and talking about it, being honest, engaging with your teammates, your colleagues, your friends, is not a weak thing. It makes everyone stronger and the friendships deeper, actually. Christina, I wondered, if you could share a little bit about your own journey and thinking about the both of you. There's this, I talked about comparing, the comparison game that all of us as humans can get into. And for some of our viewers, they may look at particularly the two of you and think, how, if they're of that mindset that, that no one struggles who has it all, so to speak. It's an extreme myth, but it's an American, myth and an illusion. Kind of just help break that down for our people who are on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I lost my grandpa in 2012. And that was something that was, being young, I was 12 at the time, it was really hard for me because I put it on myself. Like, what could I have done? Could I have called more? Could I have, I don't want to get emotional about it, but it still is hard. But what I found really helped me was talking. And like what Solomon was saying, therapy and talking and not trying to, be perfect and act like you're okay is really important. And once I started talking to my family, like I said, I wish I could have gone to a therapist, or I wish I did do that. I had the option, but I just didn't do it. Talking to my family, talking to my friends was something that really helped me and something that I urge everybody to do. It feels so much better to let it out, to release, to get your feelings off of your chest. So that's that part. But with me, I've struggled with anxiety for a lot of my life, just because, in the world that we live in, social media, being a millennial, a lot of people act like everybody is perfect and no one has problems. So just having the stress of trying to be, the best student, the best athlete, the best daughter, the best friend, it was a lot. But like I said, talking it out, telling my parents how I was feeling was something that helped me so much and helped me deal with my issues. So if there's one thing I can tell everybody, it's that you're not alone. Everybody's life, even though it looks perfect, is not perfect. Social media is just one side of your life. And what you see is just one side. Like my grandpa, you would think, he had everything, success, fame. But at the end of the day, he wasn't happy on the inside. So I just think you really need to, take other people's mindsets, into consideration, and just know that just because someone looks happy on the outside doesn't mean that it's always that case. So.
Oh, that is so true. We say this all the time. Everybody's going through something and you just don't know. And you know, sometimes they may actually give off an impression that they've got it all together, or even that they're, you know, behaving in ways that are kind of prickly or, you know, irritable. And the truth is that's coming from a place of suffering. Can either of you, I mean, I want to know more about what is going on in your peer group, because what we see in our surveys at AFSP and in our network to a large degree is in the young generation, it seems like they want to talk about mental health. Mental health is losing its stigma. Like, mental health is real. They get that. But then what actually goes on? Like, do they really get it to the point that you can be more authentic? I think that's, you know, there might be a gap there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, with our generation, you know, it's like, I think Christina was hitting on it, you know, beautifully. Just, you know, we live in a generation where we're social media driven and everything is good, beautiful. You know, I'm doing great. You know, it's just one side of life. And like you said, Christine, like, you never know what someone's going through. And life is not all, and we kind of take life and expect life to be that good, and that social media, oh, I'm over here being happy. And that's not life. Like, as we all know, life is ups and downs. Life is about the sadness. It's about the anger. So I think that really kind of suppresses like our ability to be able to, you know, publicly express our sadness, anger, or awkwardness. And, you know, like you said, I think our generation is doing a lot better. Like, we're doing amazing. Like, we share social media. We share mental health things on social media all the time. You know, we're more in tune with our social media. We're more sensitive, more in tune with our mental health. We're more sensitive. But now, it's getting like that, instead of like just talking about all the time, you put in action and like show people how we're, you know, getting help, or show people the actual resources or what's available, because now we know it's available, but now it's actually getting to it and making sure we start practicing it and start making it everyday habits. Like, instead of talking about mental health, call it the whole health, because our mental and physical are so interconnected, and it's just one thing. Like, and once people can understand, like, if you work on your mind just as much as you work on your physical, like, you will be so free in your true self and find your own true happiness and learn so much more about yourself. You know, it's just so important to have that awareness and to want to have that awareness. You know, so that's what, you know, I'm trying to do and trying to preach to people in our generation.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think that in our generation, we are getting better about talking about mental health. But I also think that there's, you know, limits to social media. And at least for me, you know, in my friend group, a lot of people are talking about the grind and hustling, and I'm doing this and doing that. And sometimes I get super overwhelming, and I found myself trying so hard to keep up with that grind that I didn't actually take the time to prioritize my mental health. So yeah, I just think it's super important to make sure you find what helps you. You find that release. You turn off social media when you start to feel down. You go for a walk or go for a jog or talk to a friend. And just make sure you set those boundaries and those parameters so that you don't get overwhelmed with trying to keep up with this person or do what that person's doing.
So good. Solly, anything more to add in terms of like self-care tips? How did you figure some of that out? Like, how would you encourage a friend to, you know, to be on that same journey?
You know, I learned a lot in therapy, and that helped me out. That set a great foundation for me. You know, but, you know, what really helped Christine was most of your advice, you know, because I used to get stressed out about having a mental health routine. I got to do this. I got to meditate. Oh, and I got to journal. Oh, and I got to go to therapy. And it started weighing on me more than, you know, it should have been helping me. And when you told me that, you know, it doesn't have to be that stressful, like, it can be, give yourself 10 minutes a day just to put your phone down, be alone, and, you know, just focus on yourself. You know, being able to say no to people and prioritizing myself first, whether it's just drinking water, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, like just a 1 minute journal a day. All those things are mental health work that will help you every day. So, you know, that's what really helped me. And, you know, I'm a journaler. You know, I overthink a lot, so I need to put my thoughts on paper so they're out of my head. And then I just like to talk, you know, so the conversation is huge for me. And, you know, I'm very blessed to have the platform that I have and to be able to speak to people and tell them to be vulnerable. So I feel like people are more vulnerable with me because of that. But I just try to, you know, be honest with people and be more raw and real, like my sister was. You know, she would tell you any day how she's doing, whether she was extremely sad or extremely happy. You got it all from her. And so when I started doing that about a couple of years ago, you know, I've lived a more true life, a more free life. And, you know, just connections I've had with people, whether it's 1 minute or an hour, I've made so many more connections and felt so much more real to what this earth is about and what this life is about. So those are some of the tips that, you know, I would give to people and some of the tips I practice myself.
That's so helpful. Thank you to both of you. You know, I just feel like we would be remiss not to talk about some things going on related to race and discrimination, violence, trauma. You know, how are you doing and how are your friends doing? Like, how are you coping? Are you finding ways to, you know, to be involved and be passionate about it, but to also protect your mental health?
Yeah, so during the pandemic with the death of George Floyd, that really, you know, sparked a lot in this country. And it was a lot for me to see somebody like, you know, that looks like my dad, my uncle, my little brother get, you know, killed for no reason. So it struck a chord with me because it felt kind of close to home in a way. And one thing that I did at the time was march. I felt like I needed to, you know, share my voice and post on social media, share resources, share GoFundMes, things like that. But after a while and after seeing tragedy after tragedy, it did become a lot for me. And I remember waking up just sad, just, you know, I wouldn't say depressed, but just down about the state of our country. So I did have to turn off my phone. I had to delete my Instagram for a minute just to reset. And I think that's something that's super important. Like what Solly said, you need to put yourself first. So even though you want to be, you know, at the front of the fight and you want to share things, if it's affecting you and you need time for yourself, it's okay. You can take that time. If a friend sends you a text and you feel like it's going to be too much energy to respond, take a second. You know, like just don't feel pressured to always be on it. So yeah, but right now I'm doing a lot better. Like I said, I'm putting myself first. You know, if I don't want to hang out with someone, I'll go for a run, do my own thing, and then get back to them later. So I think that's something that's super important.
That's excellent. Thank you. Solly, anything to add?
I think that was amazing what Christina just said, you know, because it was exhausting, you know, to go on social media and continuously see this race battle that we're in and continue to have to feel like I have to prove my worth or prove my value, you know. You know, I had extreme anxiety, you know, going on the road or driving, a cop pulls behind me. I'm scared. Like it's hard, you know, and you know, you like Christina said, turning off your social media was huge, and that was helpful for me because it's also traumatizing to go on social media, seeing someone who looks like my dad or my best friends or my teammates to continuously be murdered and killed, you know, for no reason. So, you know, I just, it's important to, like Christina said, prioritize yourself, take care of yourself in the time, whether you need to turn off your social media, whether you need to just, you know, be around some of your friends and talk about, you know, how beautiful you are, how strong you are and all that. So, you know, that's just kind of what I did during that time. And you know, it was definitely a tough time for all of us and very exhausting time as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to open it up to I'll try to be polite about it. The generations above the Gen Z and millennials, and really, you know, one thing you said, Christina, really struck me, and you too, Solly. Christina, you said it was when you were able to start talking to your parents and really telling them what you were feeling on the inside. And if we don't use our voice and explain that, we as parents are kind of left in a guessing game. We can't read our kids' minds. So, I mean, I'd like to hear from any of the others, Martha, Chris, Tony, Raymond, and let's talk about what is it like when your young person in your family starts sharing their struggles. How do you ground yourself? You know, how do you help them find their path in a way that's loving and encouraging and not overly anxious? Because it's super stressful as a parent, right, to hear that.
Yeah, let me say that my experience in particular with my family, especially Christina, was that, and I'll take a page out of Sally's comment, where, you want to feel like, show that you're strong. And as a father, it was really important for me to show strength. But at the same time, I felt weak. I would be strong in front of my family, but my alone time, I was torn up. And a friend of mine spoke to me. I mean, many times in the Black community, our sense of what our therapy is somewhat a little different than others. You know, we choose not to discuss it. We choose sometimes to bring it to our churches. We choose sometimes to find a friend that we can talk to, a single friend that we can talk to, as opposed to seeking professional help. I mean, even myself, I always question professional help. Like, well, now I have to pay you, I have to tell you my feelings and pay you for it. So, I mean, it felt a little weird, but at the same time, someone just said to me, listen, that's what we do. We're here. We've studied this journey. We understand your pain in a sense, and we help you along the way. And so I've gotten a lot of help along the way. At the same time, I really wanted my daughter, my brother, my mother to watch me, and at the same time help me. And that's one reason why I asked my daughter as well as my brother to be here on the panel, because I'm still in that journey. I'm still in that phase of trying to understand my feelings as well as trying to protect theirs. So one of the comments I saw on the board was, how do you bring this up when people are struggling? Well, I think many times we don't know how to listen. We have to listen to people. I mean, you know, when my father came to me, you know, his thought was that, well, Tony, you know, I'm not feeling that great, and because I knew him so well and we were so close, I just kind of said, well, you know, I think you'll be okay, Dad. And in fact, he wasn't okay. So but we have to do, what that taught me is that we have to listen more. We really have to stop talking and listen. And sometimes we'll find that ingredient, or that one word that they may say to let you know that someone's in trouble. And so I think that's really important, and something I've learned and something I'm continuing to study as a person that has been involved in such a painful reality.
Thank you, Tony. Chris and Martha, you want to speak to that experience of in the family dynamic and addressing the needs of all involved?
We did wind up doing, we all did individual therapy, we did couples therapy, we did family therapy, which was incredibly helpful. And, you know, like Tony said, not just being able to speak how we feel, but being able to listen to what each other is saying. And one of the things that our therapist would have us do is write out what you want to say before we had therapy. Maybe everything isn't said, you know, but being able to see it written out, you can refine what you need to say to each other, because especially in families, we're so used to talking to each other and listening to each other and having, you know, maybe a preset view of what we're going to, what we think they're going to say, rather than actually listening. That was incredibly helpful for at least me, and I think Chris and Solomon too. But and really making sure that we connect with not only people within our family, but people outside. So the days that we, you know, like I'll text Chris and Solomon and I'll go, I'm having a terrible day. I need you guys, you know, but there are days that we're all having a terrible day together. So how do we connect? Connections are what save us. And they're what save everyone.
Martha and Tony have said it so well. And I'll give a little additional perspective here. I I didn't know how to be a parent when Martha and I first got married. I came from a background where my father wasn't around, and when he was around, my goal was to do the exact opposite of what he did. Then I thought I would be a good parent because he was not a good parent. And one of the things that I had to do was understand that it's okay for me to ask for help. And part of that journey for me was going to therapy and understanding that becoming vulnerable was making my relationship with my wife, Martha, stronger, with my children stronger. Was it perfect? No. But I did learn how to listen. I did learn how to be amenable to different points of view, and learned how to work it together so that we were growing together. After Ella's passing, one of the things that became paramount to my family and myself was being around each other and truly actively listening to each other and understanding and being very candid with the pain that we were going through. And understanding we didn't have the answers. Even going to therapy, you don't have the answers. And but we talked to each other. And the other thing that we found very supportive was going to suicide support groups locally, in addition to the therapy. But that was so critical in helping us get through our journey and to making sure that we understood that we were less one person, but we were still three. And like each day I wake up and pray and thank God for the 24 years that we had with Ella. I wish we had 20, 30, 40 plus more years, but we had 24. And hopefully together we can work with each other to have a very productive and loving life together. And then also to help others who go through this kind of pain to know that there is happiness and hope along the way afterwards.
So true. It looks like we have lost Raymond, but we're going to keep going here, and maybe he'll be able to rejoin us. As I'm thinking and hearing you all speaking about your experiences, it's kind of like we grow up in our families and in our society not learning how to be honoring of any feelings and emotions and experiences we're having on the inside. We learn the opposite oftentimes, to stuff it. I was sent to my room if I was crying, come back when you're ready to be in the family. And that really sends a strong message that, you know what, that's just not acceptable. So you learn all kinds of other ways to just pretend you're not feeling that way. But the truth is, those are human emotions. They're normal. They're healthy. But then at that same time, in our families, we need to set aside our own needs to listen actively and not project onto them what we think and what we need. So it is no wonder that this is complicated stuff, and that sometimes we have to relearn new ways, right, of how to be truly present in our families. We're getting a lot of comments and questions, and thank you everyone for chiming in and engaging with us in this way. There are some themes coming up in the questions that have to do with, how do I in a smaller organization get more involved in suicide prevention? How do I engage others, like you were saying, Tony, in a conversation to actually start the conversation, whether it's about because you're worried about someone or because that they've experienced a struggle or a suicide loss themselves. So can you talk about any real life examples where you had to kind of figure out how to engage with others who maybe you weren't sure where they are and how they might perceive, this topic?
Yeah, let me start by saying that when my father left this earth, I was really confused about my next steps. And I got a call from Stevie Wonder, who's been a family friend of ours for decades. And he kind of encouraged me to continue to live. Life is precious. and just live on, you know. And that kind of gave me an idea to start a foundation in my father's name, the Don Cornelius Foundation. And as I continued to learn about mental health and suicide prevention, it's really given me a chance to explore, you know, all the many facets of mental health. And I thought suicide was for the weak. And in fact, I've learned that some of the strongest people I know have mental health issues. So I think when it comes to reaching out, I mean, me myself, I was fortunate enough to visit a AFSP walk, and one of the organizers of the walk here in Los Angeles thought it would be a good idea that I got more involved with AFSP. And fortunately enough, I was introduced to Bob Gibia, who runs AFSP, and we struck up a conversation, and the rest was history. So it really takes going out and finding those that are involved. And once you find those that are involved, you kind of make your way through this wonderful world of people who are dealing with the same things that you're dealing with. And so that's really how I became involved. And at the same time, I encourage people in my family and in my life to be more aware of mental health and suicide prevention at the same time. But one thing that I'd like to say is I always wondered how people were looking at me at the same time. And I felt a little strange because I had a family member who had some mental health issues that was right out in front as a celebrity. And so now I feel a lot more comfortable. I feel brave now that I'm able to admit not only my family's struggles with mental health at times, but I had a father who had mental health issues as well.
And of course, we learned that these are common, way more common than any of us realize. And that's one reason it's so important to be talking about it, because the more people you talk to, you realize it's just about every family who experiences these kinds of struggles. Other comments, other examples of, you know, either having to figure it out or be brave and talk to other people.
So when I was in college, I was the captain of my volleyball team. And with that, you kind of take on like a second coach role, like you kind of oversee the team. So there were times when I would notice that teammates of mine either had a very drastic like attitude shift, or sometimes, you know, you could just tell something was off. And we actually talked to a team therapist, and one of the things that he told us was, when you see someone that is going through something, or you think someone's going through something, instead of being like, oh, you look, you know, like you lost a lot of weight, or you've been really sad recently, what's going on? Instead of, you know, assuming what's going on, just say, you know, I just want to let you know that I'm here for you. I love you. If you need to talk to me about anything, just let me know. And I've had to do that with a couple of girls on my team. And even though in the moment they were like, oh yeah, I'm good, everything's fine, eventually over time of me, you know, continuing to say that, continuing to check on them, texting them here and there, they did happen to open up to me, and we got them help. So I think that's something that's really important, just offering, you know, your love and your support.
So true.
One of the things that I've picked up since Ella's passing is the importance of how you ask how somebody's doing. And we have a really good friend who lives in Atherton, and he would say, he'd ask us, how are you today? And just add that one word, today, made you really think about how do you really answer this question, and to be authentic in your response, and then be prepared to, you know, just pause, take a minute, and reflect back and share how you really feel. And then also, when you're on the other end, as somebody mentioned earlier, actively listening to see how that person is doing, and to make sure that they're not just giving you a perfunctory, I'm fine, I'm okay, but to really dig deep and to really, get underneath the veneer of it all. One of the things that we've done since we launched our nonprofit, The Defensive Line, is we focused on connections and how the power of connections is so paramount to human life. And whether you lost someone or lost someone to suicide, and having that ability to have that connection to increase the levels of oxytocin and have the interconnectedness, and to make sure you're truly collaborating and communicating together and increasing your self-worth and reducing anxiety and really having true partnerships and trust with each other. And when you have those true authentic discussions, you have that improvement in connections, and that allows people to have hope and understanding and partnerships, and that's just so important. And so that's one of the positive things that have come out of this, is trying to find a way to improve connections. And I heard a sermon recently about how when God gives you a mess, you try to make a message. And so that's sort of our message, is how do we find a way to increase connections across this land.
I love what you said about that. It is 1,000% true that we are wired for connection with each other, and our society has made that hard in some ways, to get vulnerable and to develop those deeper connections. We are at the time in our hour, believe it or not, when I'd like to ask each one of you if you have just a few parting words that maybe were on your mind and you didn't get to share it earlier in the conversation. Martha, we can start with you if you like.
I just, I guess I want to say, try not to be afraid of your grief, and take the time to honor it, and honor your loved one, because we rush around and we're focused on healing, and then sometimes it knocks us over. And if we kind of sit with it a little bit, it helps us to grow and be able to handle it more the next time, and understand what's happening to us more the next time. And we always talk about healing, but sometimes it just gets you. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you. Tony?
Yeah, I'd like to really focus just for a second on one of the live questions that someone wrote in. The person that's 9 years old, lost their brother, and searching for how to get people to listen to you. And first, I'd like to, really say that I'm so sorry that you lost your brother. And at the same time, I think you are one of the bravest that I've heard in a long time at 9 years old, where you want people to listen to you. Well, you have to continue to fight that battle, and just make people stop and make people listen and say what you want to say. And I think you mentioned something about people only focus on you and not on what you want them to hear. Well, listen, we all struggle with that sometimes. We all struggle with trying to figure out how to get people to listen to me. And I think it's important that you continue to try and you continue to be the strong person that you are. And I am just so impressed with your question. And I just wish you all the luck in the world, and just never stop trying. Always try to express yourself in a way that get people to understand exactly how you feel. It is so, so definitely important. So thank you for writing that in.
Beautiful. Thank you. Chris, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, I would just say that it's important that, I think maybe Solly mentioned this, is that we focus on our whole health, that we treat our mental wellness like we would treat having a physical injury. Address it, fix it, look at it and address it every day, whether it's through journaling, meditation, prayer, self-care, and also advice to the young generation. Don't assume that, despite the fact that we've had a couple improvements in our social justice conviction with that happened in Minneapolis, that it was 92. I remember Rodney King, and I never thought that would happen again. And there's been so many more that have happened since then as it relates to violence against black males and black people. And we have 3 killings a day, as it relates to that. So make sure we focus on keeping the cause moving forward, making sure that we support each other, making sure that we focus on whole health, and that we leverage each other to help each other get through.
Wonderful. Christina?
Yeah, I would just like to say again that talking is the most important thing that you can do. It's one of the most helpful things that you can do. And even though you might feel like you're not being strong for your family or for your friends, just know that strength is being vulnerable. So just continue to talk, try to find somebody that will listen to you. And like what my dad was saying, if people aren't listening to you, keep trying. Just never stop trying. So.
Thank you so much. And Solly, we'll close with you before I say my words of goodbye.
Yes, thank you. I mean, everyone's already said it here. They've said, the perfect, beautiful words that we all need to hear, that we all need to preach and live by every day, and you'd encourage everybody out there to live by. But, I would just really say that, you are loved, you are enough, in this life, we're always questioning, our worth, are we enough? Like try to relate it to the success and money or whatever it is. And I just want you to know that you are enough. You're perfect the way you are. All your imperfections make you so perfect. And, you're wanted here and the world needs you here. And so I would just say, just make sure you're not alone, and you're fighting this fight with many people, and there's help out there, there's resources, there's love, and, there's a way out of the dark fight that we're in. There's some little tint of light that we can find, and we can crawl our way out. So just continue practicing, your daily meditations or daily mental health habits, as well as your physical habits. They go hand in hand, like my dad said, whole health. And, just, thank you for being here and listening to us. We appreciate it all.
Oh, goodness. I feel like we could just keep on talking and being in this community together. It's, if only we could live in a community and a culture where this is how we live. And I think that is the goal at AFSP, at the Don Cornelius Foundation, at the Defensive Line. This is the world that we are trying to live out and create. And so we really, we hope that everyone who has joined us today has felt a sense of connection, a sense of being loved, a sense of being enough, and that you can be authentic, that by becoming more vulnerable and learning how to do that, you actually will increase your connections, your sense of power. So it's very paradoxical, but that is in fact how it works. These are health issues. These are issues of being human. There's nothing else to be said about it. There's no reason to feel shame. Everyone struggles, and we're here to really try to elevate the ability to connect to each other, to take the risk to talk to someone. Like we've all said, if people aren't listening, do not give up. You will find trustworthy people in your life who care and will know how to take that time to understand where you are. I really want to thank our panelists for being so strong and so vulnerable and modeling that. This conversation was uplifting to me tremendously. I was having to hold back my own feelings and tears just because we're here on camera. So thank you so much, and really for extending this voice and elevating it, particularly for families in communities of color, and for anyone who has experienced suicide loss or who is struggling. I want to remind everyone that if you're looking for resources for how to have these conversations, you can go to afsp.org and look for the Real Convo Guide, where you'll get tips on that. We also have a resource page devoted to Black, Latinx and Hispanic, and Asian American mental health resources. So please check that out. We also have a really neat page for the month of May called Mental Health for All. And I want to remind everybody that this live stream is being recorded so you can share it with your community after the fact. And with that, I will close us out. Thank everyone for joining, and please join us back in July for our next town hall in this series, where we will be focused on the AAPI community, Asian American Pacific Islander mental health and suicide prevention. Thanks, everyone.